Robert Leslie Conley, better known by his pen name Robert C. Obrien, was born on January 11, 1918 in Brooklyn, New York, to parents Leslie Marshall Conley and Agnes Obrien. Conley was the third of 5 children from a well-educated Irish Catholic family. Conley shortly attended Williams College and received his Bachelor of Arts in English at the University of Rochester in 1940. Robert wrote for Newsweek magazine in New York City. He was also a reporter for the Washington Times-Herald in Washington, D.C. Robert was also a writer for the National Geographic magazine in 1951, where he was able to travel around the world. As a child, Robert grew up in Amityville, Long Island, New York, where he enjoyed music, sprinting on the track team, swimming, and editing the school newspaper. However, he did not like contact sports. Robert's parents, himself, and his siblings operated a charitable organization for poor city children. In 1943, Mr. Obrien married Sarah McCallan, and they had 4 children. In the 1950s, Robert purchased a small farm near the Potomac River. He used it as a settling for a book he was writing called A Report from Group 17. In the 1960s, Robert developed a disease called glaucoma. Glaucoma is a disease that disrupts the peripheral vision. Because he could no longer see in the dark or drive in the dark, he was forced to move back to the city, where he was minutes away from his job. Because the National Geographic didn't approve of staff writing outside work, he had to write under a pen name. His pen name being his mother's maiden name, Obrien. In 1971, he wrote the children's fantasy book Miss Frisby and the Rats of Nimh, which was awarded the Newbery Medal in 1972. His inspiration for the book came from the research done by Dr. John B. Calhoun on mice and the rat population's dynamics at the National Institute of Mental Health, the acronym NIMH. Miss Frisby's son is sick with pneumonia and cannot get out of bed. Therefore, they cannot move to a new place. During one of her journeys to get food for her children, she encountered a tangled crow named Jeremy. After helping Jeremy, Jeremy said any favor she needed, he would do it. And so, eventually, she did need a favor. And Jeremy took Miss Frisby on his back to find the owl and ask for advice from the owl. The owl said, "Go to the rats." And so Miss Frisby did. When Miss Frisby went to the rats, they were a little reluctant, not knowing who she was. Then Mr. Ages walked in. Mr. Ages was a rat that Miss Frisby had gone to see to ask for help and medicine for her son Timothy. Mr. Ages got her in to see Nicodemus. After hearing the story of the rats of Nimh, Miss Frisby was shocked. Her husband had never told her he was a part of the rats of Nimh. Long ago they had been captured and were being tested because rats were smart. Miss Frisby did not know that her husband was a part of the plan. The plan was to build a plow machine so that they could plant their own vegetables and so they wouldn't be called thieves. Thieves of their food. After all the trouble Miss Frisby went through to get help, she eventually did.
The rats of Nimh, the intelligent rats of Nimh, had helped her, and happily ever after. Their house was near the brook, right where Miss Frisby wanted it. In 1973, Robert was writing the book Z for Zachariah, but he did not get to finish the last chapter. He unfortunately died. His family wrote the last chapter of the book. Z for Zachariah won the Edgar Award in 1976.